The ceasefire may still be holding on paper, but behind the scenes, the Iran standoff now appears to be moving in a far more dangerous direction. Even as negotiations with the United States continued, new reports now suggest Iran was simultaneously expanding its missile capabilities, refusing key American nuclear demands, and warning that diplomacy itself may now be nearing collapse. According to reports cited by Anadolu Agency and regional media, Iranian-linked entities allegedly ordered thousands of tons of ammonium perchlorate from a Hong Kong-based company, a chemical used as solid missile fuel and reportedly sufficient for hundreds of ballistic missiles. At the same time, fresh reports now claim Iran's leadership has made a final decision not to hand over its highly enriched uranium stockpile to Washington. The ammonium perchlorate order is triggering fresh scrutiny because of the chemical's direct link to ballistic missile production. According to reports, the shipment was allegedly ordered by an Iranian company identified as Pishkaman Tijarat Rafi-Novin Company. The reports claim the quantity involved could potentially fuel nearly 800 ballistic missiles. Iran has historically imported such materials for its own missile program, and, according to Western allegations, also for regional allied groups and military cooperation involving Russia. The timing of the reported purchase is now drawing particular attention because it allegedly took place while diplomatic negotiations involving Iran were still ongoing. The reports also mention discussions taking place in Islamabad. At the same time, broader regional tensions continued escalating. Meanwhile, another major flashpoint is now emerging around Iran's uranium stockpile. According to Al Arabiya, citing what it described as a high-level source, Iran's supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei has made a final decision not to hand over Iran's highly enriched uranium reserves to Washington. That issue remains one of the central demands pushed by Washington and Israel in negotiations linked to Iran's nuclear program. The latest reported decision could now sharply complicate already fragile diplomatic efforts. Iran has repeatedly insisted that its nuclear program remains peaceful and denies seeking weapons capability. But the United States, Israel, and several Western governments continue accusing Tehran of moving dangerously close toward weapons-grade capability. At the same time, fresh comments from a source described as close to Iran's negotiating team now suggest talks may be nearing a complete deadlock. According to the source, no final agreement draft currently exists. The same source also claimed that American nuclear demands have created what was described as a total deadlock in negotiations. The same source further warned that U.S. threats have left Tehran increasingly angry and losing interest in continuing talks. Perhaps most alarmingly, the source claimed that conflict itself could kick off at any moment. The warning now adds to fears that the current ceasefire atmosphere across the region may be far more fragile than publicly acknowledged. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil choke points, has now become the center of a dangerous new power struggle in the Middle East. In a dramatic escalation, Iran's Persian Gulf Surveillance Agency, known as the PGSA, has published a map outlining the maritime zone now controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the powerful IRGC force at the heart of Tehran's military operations. According to the statement, Iran has formally defined its jurisdiction across key sections of the Strait of Hormuz, stretching from Ku-e-Mubarak on Iran's coast to southern Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates on the eastern side, and from Kesh Island to al-Quwain on the western side. The message is unmistakable. Tehran says any vessel passing through these waters must now receive permission from Iranian authorities before transit. That declaration has sent shockwaves across global shipping markets and raised fears that Iran is tightening its grip on one of the world's most important energy corridors, a narrow waterway through which nearly a fifth of global oil supplies pass every day. The move comes after months of spiraling conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel. On February 28th, US and Israeli forces launched military operations targeting Iran, with strikes reported in major cities including Tehran. In response, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced a massive retaliatory campaign against Israel and allied military positions across the region. American military facilities in Bahrain, Jordan, Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia were all reportedly targeted during the escalation. Soon after, Iranian authorities moved to shut the Strait of Hormuz to vessels linked to the United States, Israel, and countries accused of supporting military action against the Islamic Republic. Now, with Iran publicly asserting direct control over the strategic waterway, tensions in the Gulf are reaching a boiling point once again. And as global powers watch nervously, fears are growing that even a single miscalculation in the Strait of Hormuz could trigger a far wider regional confrontation, one capable of shaking the world economy overnight. A chilling new warning is emerging from Tehran, and it's sending shockwaves across the Middle East. What was already a fragile standoff now feels like it could snap at any moment. An Iranian military source speaking to Russian state media RIA Novosti claims Iran is holding back a secret arsenal, advanced domestically built weapons never before seen in combat. And the warning is blunt. If the United States or Israel strikes again, these systems could be unleashed. This comes as tensions are already surging, with military deployments stacking up and pressure building across the region. Every move now feels heavier, every signal more dangerous. The same source claims Iran has developed next-generation weapon systems, never tested in battle, never publicly revealed, and now sitting on standby. In a region already on edge, this warning raises one unsettling question. Is the next clash already being prepared in silence? The source further claimed Iran had spent years preparing for precisely this kind of confrontation, quietly expanding its missile, drone, and air defense capabilities while facing sanctions and military pressure from the West. And now, the message coming out of Tehran is unmistakable. Iran says it is ready for another war, and this time, it may fight very differently. The remarks were reportedly made while discussing Iran's readiness for a possible repeat attack by the United States. The source insisted Iran faces no shortages in military equipment or defensive capabilities, and warned that any future strike would be met with a far stronger response. Most strikingly, the source declared that Iran would no longer show restraint in the event of another conflict. That statement is already fueling concerns that Tehran could be preparing a far more aggressive military doctrine after months of confrontation with the United States and Israel. The warning comes as the region remains on edge. The United States has continued moving military assets across the Middle East. Military analysts say Iran has heavily invested in asymmetric warfare capabilities over the past decade, including long-range missiles, hypersonic systems, drone swarms, underground launch facilities, and electronic warfare platforms designed to challenge superior Western air power. Is the threat strategic messaging, or a sign of preparations already underway? One thing is becoming increasingly clear. The world is anxiously watching the Middle East. May still be yet to come in the escalating U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict. As fears grow over a possible renewed military offensive amid deadlocked peace talks, Iran has now issued what could be its boldest and most alarming threat yet against the United States and Israel. According to reports in Iranian media, Tehran has begun preparing intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, in response to any future attack. The The reports claim the Iranian military is preparing as many as 500 long-range missiles, allegedly capable of striking targets deep inside the United States, including Washington, D.C. and New York City. If true, the claim would mark a dramatic escalation in Iran's military posture and send shockwaves across Washington, Tel Aviv, and the wider Middle East. And despite the 40-day war launched earlier this year by the United States and Israel, Iran still possesses a vast missile arsenal capable of causing catastrophic damage across the region. Iran is widely believed to possess the largest and most diverse missile force in the Middle East. The Islamic Republic has thousands of ballistic and cruise missiles in its arsenal, some capable of reaching Israel and parts of Eastern Europe. Missiles are considered the central pillar of Iran's military doctrine and one of Tehran's most powerful strategic deterrents. According to a 2022 estimate by United States Central Command, Iran possesses more than 3,000 ballistic missiles. Over the past several years, Tehran has also constructed what it calls missile cities, massive underground military bases carved deep into mountains across the country. Some of these facilities are reportedly buried hundreds of meters underground and are believed to house long-range missile systems, including the Shahab-3, Sejil, and Khorramshahr missiles, weapons with ranges of up to 2,000 kilometers. Military analysts say Iran's missile program was built over decades with technological support from China and North Korea, both major geopolitical rivals of the United States. At present, there is no confirmed evidence that Iran possesses operational nuclear weapons or a proven intercontinental ballistic missile capable of reaching mainland U.S. territory. However, Tehran's latest claims about preparing hundreds of ICBMs are already fueling alarm and speculation across the West. Some reports suggest Iran's emerging long-range missile ambitions may be linked to North Korea's missile technology. According to those reports, an 80-ton rocket booster associated with North Korea's Hwasong-15 intercontinental ballistic missile may have been transferred from Pyongyang to Iran. The Hwasong-15 is believed to have a range of nearly 8,000 miles, theoretically capable of reaching large parts of the continental United States. As diplomacy collapses,